In the first half of 2023, there were over 3,000 pedestrian fatalities in the United States. So what causes these pedestrian accidents and fatalities? So what we want to do today is give you some information about pedestrian accidents in and around Colorado and the US as a whole, but then also what steps to take if you or someone you know is ever in a pedestrian accident. In 2022, Colorado reported its highest number of pedestrian accident deaths, and that was 111. That accounted for almost 15% of the total traffic fatalities that year. So what causes these pedestrian accidents and fatalities? Honestly, it's a mix of a lot of different things. It's not following the rules of the road, distracted driving, it's pedestrians not using proper crosswalks or functions like that. Also too, as a pedestrian, it's really important to have proper attire. So you want to wear, clothes that can be seen if you're walking at night as well. So those are some common issues that can happen. From the distracted driving standpoint, pedestrians actually can be in, motor vehicle collisions as well if they're distracted and if the driver of the vehicle is distracted as well. So it goes both ways with distracted driving and distracted walking as well. So now what do you do if you're actually injured in a pedestrian motor vehicle collision? So here's the first thing you need to do. You need to stop and assess yourself for injuries, right? So feel around yourself, take a look around, see if you have any broken bones, any scratches, cuts, bruising, what have you. Then I want you to take photos of all of those, of your body, your injuries, and then also the scene itself. Also then too, take a moment and breathe, and then I want you to get an exchange of information with the other person, with the person who hit you in their vehicle, and get their information. And so their information of things you're gonna need, driver's license, insurance information, things like that. Then similar to any type of motor vehicle collision where it's two cars, I want you to make sure that you take photos of that scene, take photos of the road, and where you are at. And so you also want to make sure then too that if there are any witnesses around that you get their information as well. And then finally too, one of the things you want to make sure that you do too is you want to make sure that you give the police a call if you do have injuries there, so that can be reported. And again, like we've talked about in our other video series as well, that the police then can make a neutral third-party account of what happened. And so that's a really clean way to go about doing things there in that sense. So some of the risk with being in a pedestrian versus motor vehicle collision is this, that you can be seriously injured. And injured in a way too where you don't have the exterior of a vehicle protecting you. Now you just had another vehicle come up and hit you. And so you can be very seriously injured and hurt. Not only physically, so you can have broken bones, cuts, bruises, what have you, but also too, it's possible that when they hit you, you could also injure your head and end up with a traumatic brain injury or a TBI. You can absolutely have concussion and some very serious injuries there too from the brain area as well. And so I think it's very, very important that you end up going to an urgent care or an emergency room right after to get yourself checked out, because you don't know what injuries you may have inside. Plus the other reality too is it's also important to check your mental health during this time as well, because that's a pretty scary thing, walking along the crosswalk and then getting hit by a car. And so you want to make sure then too at that point that you stop and assess your own mental health and see if you need to go see a counselor or set up a time to see a therapist as well to help yourself deal with the impact of what just happened. And so make sure that you take care of yourself in that sense too, not only your physical body, but make sure too that you're taking care of your mental health as well. If you like the information, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. So then after you've actually gone to seek your medical treatment, you've gone to the emergency room or the urgent care, and you've had a moment to assess the situation. You've done your due diligence by, getting the contact information of the person who hit you. You've gotten yourself checked out. The next thing I want you to do is actually then I want you to call an attorney and set yourself up for a free consultation. And again, remember, our key here is always information is power. So it's going to be an empowering piece. And so just talk to them. Say, hey, here's what happened. I was a pedestrian walking along, and then I got hit by a car or a truck or what have you. And here's what happened. So then that way too, they can help you walk through your situation and help give you information, which again, that information is going to be power. Because it's better to have that instead of guessing, kind of being in this whirlwind of like, I don't know what to do. And hiring a lawyer is bad. Well, you haven't hired one. You're just talking to them to get information to start with and seeing potentially if you'd be a good fit as a relationship. But ultimately, you haven't taken that step yet. It's just a vetting process. But that vetting process also empowers you and gives you more information. So definitely highly recommend talking to a personal injury lawyer about that, because you were injured. You want to make sure that you're able to not only get the proper treatment, but also get compensation because you weren't doing anything wrong. Make sure to follow us too on Facebook, Instagram, X, and Instagram threads. If you know someone that could use this information and that it would help, make sure to tag them or share it with them.